Ladies. All right, we're live
Hi.
today. Today we are talking about the pros and cons of mainstreaming, the goals. I think we talked about this last week, but we thought it was such a good topic. We didn't have Jill here. So we wanted to revisit this because I love Jill's input. I like
Yeah.
the fact that we all come from various angles. We have insight from all different views. Crystal's in Michigan. I'm dealing with Morgan, who wears her disability. Jill, kids don't even look like they have a disability. So I think we're coming from different angles, and I think that's what makes this conversation so interesting. So I did tell Crystal we had such a great conversation last week. I think this is a wonderful topic, and I think it was worth revisiting this week. So the one thing that I wanted to do, I wanted to show what I wanted to go over and show what mainstreaming is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my screen so everyone can see it. They can get a good definition of what mainstreaming is. Um, okay.
I think she might have actually just cut herself off and
And
she's
let
So
me
back
what
go
on.
first.
happened?
Thank
Not
you.
sure what happened. Okay, I'm sure. I
That's
think I pushed the wrong button. I'm sorry. So sharing screen. Okay. Which one do I want to share? I want to share this one. Okay. So this one gives us a great definition of what mainstreaming is. Mainstreaming in education. Many students with special needs are placed into a self-contained class, and what we call that is less. It's kind of a restrictive. When it says contained, it's restricted. And it's kind of like all the kids that are special needs, they kind of group them together. So it's a self contained class or multi classroom program in which they learn alongside peers who have disabilities as well. Mainstreaming is when the school system has the special needs individuals to interact with neurotypical kids. So we have seen some pros and cons for that. I know me and Crystal had a great conversation about it last week. And Crystal, if you wanted to start off, Jill, you jump in and we could just talk about, the pros and cons of mainstream. I think we should start off with the pros. Crystal, you had some great pros last week, and I think that would be good because they have some on these slides, but I think let's get some real life um, um, examples of how it has been beneficial to our children. Crystal, you could start off.
yes, I think some of the pros of mainstreaming could be I think one of the important things that we discussed last week and that I experienced as well when my oldest daughter, was placed in from a self-contained classroom into a general education classroom in elementary school is that she was one among her peers, and they are great models of like the behaviors that you want to see the children to exhibit in the classroom, and they want to be treated just like their peers get to know them and understand them. They have an opportunity to learn to have empathy. They have opportunities to learn to have compassion and recognize that people are different and unique, and they have opportunities to show up and help where they see that they can be a help to a student that is placed mainstream in the classroom. I also think it's a plus for teachers who may not always be have students that may have challenges. They also get that opportunity to work with students. um, they get to learn about how to accommodate or possibly modify for different learners in their classroom. Of course, it helps when the student has a team that is working with them, like the caseworker or the teacher consultant and a teacher assistant, possibly, that helps help work together for the benefit and the success of the student. And those were like some of those big positives that like jump out that I remember us discussing and that I experienced. Jill, did you have any like how would this help benefit you, you know, with your sons?
Well, with my oldest, he needed to be in a gen ed class. His academics were just so high. He was actually above average. But so, you know, social wise, he needed all the help he could get. And that's one of the reasons I didn't homeschool him, was because I really felt he needed that social part that comes with school. And with my youngest, he did terrible in gen ed, terrible. Even though, you know, extremely high functioning, like, you know, my other son, Zachary, just, he would, it was just too much sensory, too much sound, too much smell. You know, just the kid tapping a pencil while they're taking a quiz would just, you know, just be too much. There's just too many kids. He got distracted. He would interrupt the entire class. Like, they would have to put their heads down until he stopped because they couldn't control him. And I actually had to fight to get him in a self-contained classroom. I had to get an attorney. And I mean, even when his teachers were like, we cannot teach this class. We can't teach, you know, Zachary, and we can't teach the other kids with him in this class, you know, literally the school, because they're, you know, doing away with self-contained. So, and Zachary's flourished in self-contained with one, you know, I think there's no more than 5 kids in his class. So it's more personable. And he didn't start to learn to read until he was in a self-contained class. So it's very interesting how you can have 2 kids raised the same way with all the same disorders and same, you know, functionality pretty much. You know, Zach seems to have more common sense at, you know, at this age than, you know, my oldest had, but my oldest seems to be higher and care a lot more for academics. But it's so interesting how different you have to not just parent the, you know, the kids differently, but also education wise is, you know, can be completely different. Completely.
Absolutely.
I never thought I'd be fighting for self-contained classroom, you know, but I had to, and he's flourished. And it helped other kids because then, you know, then they were forced. We actually won a whatchamacallit, we went to the state and filed a complaint. So I won the Maryland complaint. So the school was forced to make a self-contained classroom for my son.
Wow.
And other kids benefited, you know, because all suddenly you know, there was a place for them also. So it benefited not just my son, but other kids. But I shouldn't have had to have done that.
So then that's actually a con as it relates to mainstreaming. So you found
right.
that mainstreaming did not work for Zach, but it worked for Jamie.
It worked, you know, amazingly for Jamie. Jamie flourished in mainstream. And like I said, you know, same environment, same parenting, same disorders, and 2 completely different kids.
So let me ask you, how does he in the self-contained class, how does he function socially?
Well, there's depending on what class, there's about 5 kids. I think math is only 2, which is really, really good for him.
Oh, wow.
But he also he has social bunches at lunch, or lunch bunches, right? He has lunch bunches that the psychiatrist, the school psychiatrist or psychologist, I think, the school psychologist, and we'll grab a couple kids and Zachary, and they'll do a lunch bunch, games and stuff like that. And I think that is once a week. And he is in a regular gen ed class in PE and chorus this year. So like art, PE, choir, that kind of stuff, he's in gen ed. But knock on wood, this year has been great. That was when he'd get in trouble, was when he'd be in his gen ed classes. He would stop participating. He would get in fights. He would get in arguments with the teacher. He would leave the room when the teacher told him not to. So it, just, I think that many kids and the sensory issues are too much for him for gen ed. But this year he's starting to learn how to adapt, which is unfair that, we expect our kids to completely change how they're wired and to adapt to a neurotypical world. I mean, it's really hard.
I guess it gives you the opportunity, Jill, also to see what his triggers are.
Right.
As far as him being in the the specialty classes with his neurotypical peers, it kind of gives you an opportunity to see what the triggers are. And then I guess that's where that BIP comes in, the behavioral intervention program, plan to kind of see, like, them putting a BIP in place to kind of suppress a lot of those behaviors.
Right. And we do have a behavior plan. I don't believe we're using it this year because we don't need to. Knock on wood. This year has been so different. I don't know what the difference is or what happened, but he has not had any issue whatsoever at school this year.
That's awesome.
They're just continuing to develop too. I'm
right, because he's in what grade?
To develop.
Seventh,
yeah.
I think he went up 150 points in reading.
Wow.
Oh shoot.
That's
Whatever
amazing.
the test is, they do it once for reading and math. Maryland, at the beginning of the year, and they do it at the end of the year. And he's almost grade level now. He was reading at a third grade level.
I love it.
Up until this year. I mean, I don't know what happened. I have no idea. Just this year's, he's been doing really, really well.
I love it. I think he's growing up.
Yeah, he is. He's
maturing.
It's interesting because Jamie, my oldest, learned how to adapt much earlier. I think that's part of it, is just learning how to adapt to a neurotypical world, especially school. It's just too long for our kids, in my opinion. So my oldest was able to learn to adapt around age 7, and Zach's learning how to do it at age 12. So I mean, it goes to show you how just different our kids are.
And that's even neurotypical kids. All of them are different.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, their strengths and weaknesses are just so different.
It is.
Denise said when Zion was younger, he was in all disability classes that didn't work for him before he was moved to a private school. I can honestly attest to that as well. Denise, when Morgan went to, of course, she went through the infant and toddlers program, and when she went into the pre-K and different things, she was put into mainstream. She was definitely put into mainstream. I believe we put her in life skills classes, which is, a self-contained class. We put her in there. I think she was in the first grade. I think it was the first grade. I can honestly say I do believe that having her with her neurotypical peers, it did help her develop. It helped her to strive for something. I do believe. I think it also helped her with her social skills. When she was approved for life skills, I think it was a definite plus for her on the end, where it came to her focusing on her everyday skills, occupational therapy, and different things and stuff like that. But I think I did see her social skills totally plummet. I think it would have really continued to help her. And so I think I think the benefit for that was her being with her peers. Her peers were excited to help out with her. They were excited to interact with her. it was definitely a plus on Morgan's side from a social standpoint, as well as her peers getting to understand her disability and how she ticked. I mean, they had so many questions, and these were kindergartens and um like her entire elementary school. Morgan was a star there because most of the people just wanted to know her and just wanted to communicate with her and wanted to interact with her. So I think some of those kids, that was probably their first interaction with kids with disabilities. So they found it exciting. So I think, to this day, some of them may cherish that experience with Morgan, and it has helped them as time has gone on to be able to accept other kids with disabilities and be able to, revert back to, wow, I remember it was a young lady in my class named Morgan. And that's, some of those things really help those kids. So I believe that, to me, that was definitely a benefit of mainstreaming for Morgan. I do. But I also see the benefit of having her in a self-contained class at this point, because from an educational standpoint, from a teaching her how to be independent and have life skills, the teacher would not have been able to teach her that, because definitely the teacher in a mainstream class was focused on academics, and there was no one in the class to take and focus on Morgan's needs. So her needs couldn't have been kind of merged with the neurotypical kids, because she wouldn't have gotten what she needed. Um, However, I did see the benefit, even if they pulled her out and had her in the life skills class. I see the benefit of putting her into a mainstream specials class. I think, for me personally, I think these kids need to interact with their peers as much as possible. I think that having them with music, I think having them with art, having them with PE, even the adaptive PE, I believe that even with the kids doing, the neurotypical kids doing PE, Morgan had a stand where they were trying to help her with her posture. I do believe that helping and having a teacher there that focused on Morgan's adaptive PE was still a good thing. But I think, at the same time, she still could have been interacting with her peers. So I think that was definitely a pro for mainstream. Definitely. I saw it totally. And I did see when they pulled her out and they kind of kept her in that self-contained class, it limited her socially. That's one thing that I would advise all parents to kind of look at. I don't care if your children do not communicate. I don't care what their physical disability is, what their cognitive disability is. I personally would still advise you or encourage you to put your children with as many neurotypical kids as possible, especially as it relates to those special subjects. I do. Because when you tuck them away, it kind of gives them a false sense of security. And it keeps them from real life, because now when you take them out of those classes and you take them into real life, you take them to the grocery store, you take them to the shopping mall. We can't take them into a room, a self-contained room, and they have us as parents in a shopping self-contained room. So it's kind of, shielding them from real life. That's just me personally.
Right. I get it and I agree. I like
Hmm.
how you said like how it's so beneficial to your student, to your kid, when your kid is in mainstream, possibly like in specials, in sports, in sometimes in a gen ed classroom. I think is as much as it's important for our children, I believe it's also important for other children, because I think it gives them the opportunity to not always look and stare. I think that it makes them like, they're part of the community. And I think that it extends beyond the classroom. It's the community, the whole school. Definitely it should be the district, but if we can't get it together at a district level, and I know that many of us live in areas where our school districts can be very large. Mine is not as large as like Prince George's County, what's your county, Paula? St. Charles County, you know, like districts like that. So I want to say that if you start at school, the school presents a certain kind of environment. And I feel like it starts with like school leaders and teachers and staff and how welcoming they are to our students, because school should also feel like a safe place. And if school feels safe for our children and they know that they can go to an adult and they know that other kids come to their rescue, you know, I think it just kind of extend a little bit further. Like that's what helps with mainstreaming. And I definitely relate to Jill when she was talking about her son, like needing a self-contained class versus another kid being able to thrive in a gen ed. My youngest son is in a self-contained class. He does mainstream for specials and he's in middle school now. But, you know, he would be the kid, well, he's not on level academically. He's not on his grade level in reading and in math. Also, I feel like if he was right now, he still has like behaviors, and it can be off-putting for other students to like look at him like, I don't want to sit near that kid, or, you know, in gym, I don't want that kid on my team, you know, or something like that. And he's just really trying to regulate his body, and he's trying to, sometimes it is sensory overload, you know, and, you know, Roman scripts a lot. You know, he like repeats lines from movies, and he's in his happy place. You know, he does that at any moment, anywhere. He is like playing out a scene, and we're walking, you know, from the car to, he likes to go eat breakfast at school. And he was scripting this morning. He was a little loud, and he was doing like, you know, girl, he was in his own head. He was like, whoa, like he was just like that. And he kept doing that. So I was like trying to like, so Roman, what kind of day we're going to have? And he was like, we're going to have a great day. Whoa. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting tickled because I'm like, we're about to walk up. All the kids are like lining up at the lunch door. I mean, the cafeteria doors to eat breakfast. And he started going down the step. I stand off. I just walk him and I stand there until they open the door and let the children in. And it's a crowd that's forming. And somehow in that crowd, Roman is like, makes his way all the way to the door. And so he's making that sound. I'm like, oh my gosh, he sounds like a dinosaur coming down the steps, right? And the kids was like, wait, what? And I was just like, they just started turning around. I'm like, he done parted the sea for himself. He done made his way to the door, you know, but he was just making, I'm like, he's just him. You either going to like him for who he is or you're not. You're going to recognize, he might be a little different than us, you know, but I think he caught some kids off guard. They were like sitting there. He just came down like, whoa, doing this scene, and they just started moving, and they was like, hey. And then some kids, I think, just like, oh, he's here every day, you know, like, oh, I know him. And, you know, and I think it should just be like, oh, hey, Roman, you know, that's how I think that if we create that environment, if the school in the community has that kind of welcoming, and, oh, it's just our buddy Roman coming, I think that's what makes it easier for our kids. And it brings about a sense of unity as well. And they're not so much looked at as like, let me scoot over, get out the way, this kid's crazy, or, oh, you know what I mean? Things like that, like negative connotations about them. So
I agree.
Yeah, we have a lot of kids that come up and say hi to Zachary when we're out and about, and I'm always tickled about it too. I'm always like, oh,
how does Zachary act?
Just just one of my friends. So he has a lot of friends.
Oh, that's a great thing.
Oh, it is.
That's a great thing.
Really, I think he's like me. He really doesn't meet anyone that he dislikes. Like he wants he just wants everyone to be his friend. And I think our boys, Crystal, are so similar. They sound so similar. It's hilarious.
So
he also
scripts too?
but he scripts like memes. Zach will script memes, like, or gaming stuff. But yeah, and he'll like,
what memes?
I was crazy once, and they locked me in a padded room. And
yes,
he just goes on.
Yes, Roman does memes. Yes.
Yep. And
okay, so y'all have to tell me what are memes. You know, this is something I don't know.
It was full of rats.
It was filled with rats, and the rats made me crazy. I was crazy. See, hear him?
You done got him started.
Where did they get this from, guys?
YouTube.
Right now, your life means nothing.
You should kill yourself right now. Your life means nothing. You haven't heard that one? That's another script.
I haven't heard any of these. None of them.
Meme.
It's a meme. So yeah,
I didn't even know what that was. When y'all said meme, okay, again, Morgan's not into that. Jeremy's not into it. I'm totally oblivious to that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like YouTube. Like Roman watches the same thing on YouTube. It's something that he's been watching, and we'll say that's enough. It's called like Monster Rage or something. It's just a man that's like, it's a loop of a man making the sound I was just making. And it is like so annoying. And I'll let him listen to it, and I'll be like, Roman, that's enough. He's hurting my ears. He was like, sorry, Mom, sorry. But then he was doing it this morning, going down like it's just things on YouTube, little clips that he watches. Yep. I mean, it could be anything, Paul. I think one time, I don't know if I was telling you this, but he got on a Mr. Roof commercial like run. So he knew every he looked them up on YouTube, like old call 1-800 for Mr. Roof. Like that drove us crazy. And if he saw a truck, and we used to pass like the Mr. Roof warehouse on the way to church on Sundays, and he used to be like, Faith, and he would start scripting his favorite one. And like, girl, we just have to join in sometimes. You know what they say, if you can't beat them, join them. Girl, just on our way to church singing 1-800 for Mr. Roof,
Oh my goodness.
Mine is into watching plumbing videos on YouTube.
Plumbing?
I got it from my dad.
Yep, he and Chuck watch plumbing videos together on YouTube.
We gotta get Zach to join us.
It can be disgusting, and I'm like, please turn this off while I'm eating. So, yes.
Denise says that Zion script too. I asked her what did he script. She said anything from TV or what someone says. Wow, yep. I'm not even gonna lie. With Morgan being nonverbal, guys, I don't think I would have a problem with this. Just so ready to hear her say something that I would just be overjoyed. So when you guys say this, these are things that you may not saying you guys, but sometimes we all can take certain things for granted. For me, because she has not spoken, I'm looking forward to her having a full-fledged conversation with me one day. That would be great.
I think you know what? But I'm gonna tell you this, Jill. Look, I'm listening to Paula. So Paula used to always say, I wish Morgan had hair. Look at it. I want her to have hair.
Oh, she didn't have hair. I remember.
She used to be like, Faith got all this hair. I want Morgan. Morgan got all this hair. She was like, this hair. More than this hair.
But that's because I have to fight with her to do it. Yeah. I ain't even gonna. I love her hair. It's just the fact that I chase her around the house doing her hair. So let's be clear. I love her hair. It's just the fighting with her to get it done.
Well, now, I'm gonna say the same thing like that. I remember like Roman was nonverbal. He was non-speaking, and I remember one of the things I was sharing with my dad one day, he was like, we're just going to pray for Roman to have, his speech. And that's what we would do. And every time I'd be like, Roman this, Roman that, my dad said, didn't you want him to talk? I know. I mean, and like Roman, because he scripts, he be giving it to people sometimes. He be like, you don't even know what you're talking about. And he be like, we be like, hold up. What happened to sweet Roman? So we gotta be careful what we ask for sometimes.
Right. Because I'm gonna say this, Morgan runs her mouth. She can look you, she's nonverbal, but her expressions, as you guys know, and it sometimes me and hubby be laughing because one of his friends said she jumps in and out. He said she got good sense. She taps in and out. When she wants to, be on point. Other times she uses her disability as a crutch. He said that's time she tap in and out. And we laugh because she will have an expression that is on point. When I tell her to do something, she will give me a look that clearly shows she understands me, and she gives me that teenager move. I'm like, oh, so you do understand me.
Oh
But
yeah.
you tapping in, but then when I try to come at you, you tap back out like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, you too late. You showed me. Mhm. Yes, you showed me. Denise also said, which I thought was interesting. I know we got on this subject, but I want to say that she says that with Zion School, they take them out in the community. And I'm sure most people have seen that and I agree, but I still don't feel like that's an interaction. They do it during school time. It's called, I forgot what it's called at Morgan School because I did ask when were they going to start doing that again. But I still believe when I see them in the store, most of the stores they bring them during the times the stores are kind of empty in the daytime, just kind of giving them an opportunity. Like Morgan knows how to put stuff in a cart. They're kind of teaching her a lot of life skills. Again, for me, I feel as though it's not something that particularly gets them to interact with their peers because when you're pulling them out the school, the peers are still in school and you're pulling them out, you're introducing them to the social like life skills, doing life skills stuff like being able to put stuff in the cart, being able to help bag up stuff. But again, for me, I just feel like there's a social part missing, and I have seen her socially decline. Whereas one time when we had family gatherings, people came over, she jumped in the middle of them and she was having a good time with everybody. Now it's a battle to get her around everybody. That's her trigger for her falling out, having her meltdowns, is being around everybody. But for me, I continue to force her into those environments because again, I would never be able to go anywhere. I would never be able to do anything. But I saw that, I can honestly say, I saw that decline once they pulled her out and put her in a self-contained class.
It was a
And
really hard decision for me to make with my youngest, was because that was it. Okay, which is more important, the social aspect of school or the academic aspect of school? And he
Mhm.
wasn't reading at the time at all. And
Mhm.
they didn't see any problem with that. It was insane. I'm like, he can't like graduate sixth grade, middle school and not read. Like, when are we going to take this seriously? So I mean, it's sad. I was heartbroken to have to make that decision because I felt like I shouldn't have to. Because there was no program in this county anywhere for a kid like him. But I mean, now he's reading at like sixth grade. Not yet seventh, but sixth grade level. And I don't think he would have gotten there otherwise. So it was the right decision, but it shouldn't have, these decisions in 2023 we shouldn't be making. I
You
feel
make
like
an
we should be
excellent
further
point.
than this.
yeah, and I
You
think
make an
that maybe
excellent point.
and I think that maybe also like he thrived better in a smaller classroom,
Mhm.
because I can't imagine the size of the normal size classroom of a gen ed, 23 plus. I'm just thinking on the minimum 23, but plus,
Mhm.
depending on the size of the school. And so that can be very much overwhelming. And so
Mhm.
I think probably just even that one-on-one attention, a smaller classroom, look how he's just thrived in that area and his academics and all. I think that's awesome. I think that's really good. And I liked what Denise was saying about taking them out in the community. You
Mhm.
know, honestly, I kind of sometimes think that being out in the community helps just my other children, you know,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
it's a skill that's needed for life. But being out in the community, so here where I live in our independent school district, just like our county, we have these young adult programs. And my oldest daughter is in one, and you can be in the young adult program up to the age of 26. Or I believe if you do obtain a high school diploma, then you can exit out earlier. And in the young adult program, my daughter is out in the community every day. Every
Mm.
day. She gets there, she eats breakfast, and she's out in the community. And so when
Doing
I'm
some of the stuff like what, Crystal? Can you tell us what some of the things
Yeah,
she's
I
doing
take
out in the
yeah, because
community?
what she does, and when I'm out in the community, I run into um young adults in other centers. So they're
Mhm.
placed throughout in where I live in the area, and I'll see them like in TJ Maxx, and they're with adults with them. And sometimes you're placed in a group where it might be more people on your level, you know, maybe dealing with your
Mm.
levels and challenges, things like that. So what my daughter does on a daily, she's out. She's helping. So this is her third year at this particular center she's at, and she helps the kids learn the city bus route because she knows it like the
Mm.
back of her hand. So they always like use her to help them, teach them. She had to teach the teacher because he was new to the district. So they get on the
That's
bus,
awesome.
they learn to ride the bus, and they learn to ride it independently. So last week was her first time riding the bus ever by herself. The city bus, she took it to Target, did her shopping, came out, and took the bus home. That's what she did on her own. We know she could do it. We know she was a little scared to do it, but you know, she said she would do it. She said she don't want to do it again. You know, but it's part of helping you be aware of the community you live in, the people that you see. You know, the bus driver learns you if you're always on that route. You know, it's all community. And you know, I live in a smaller community, so I might have to put that out there. I'm not in like a metropolitan area like you all are. I'm in
Mm.
a smaller like college town community. And so she also she volunteers at a food bank.
Mm.
She volunteers at a housing community.
Mm.
She volunteers at Joanne Fabrics. She also volunteer. She does like exploration for jobs to see what would she want to do. What kind of permanent job could she see herself doing? So I think she's interested in an opportunity at Applebee's.
Mm.
And this is something that she raised her hand for and said, yeah, I would like to explore that. She had a summer employment, paid employment at an adult daycare center.
Wow.
She really liked that. She probably had more difficulty communicating with the adults. She's a little, you know, Jael can be a little introverted until she's really warmed up to
Mhm.
people, but she's good at following instruction. And so a lot of her reports was she did everything independently. Once given a cue, a prompt, direction of what to do, she can execute it. You know, especially if Jael feel like I don't have to talk, I just need to clean this table, I just need to put these. And they said she loved bingo. Now she did participate every time they played bingo at the adult daycare center. She was down for that cause. So um she also goes to the recreation center or like a workout center. She goes
Mm.
there, she exercises, or she usually walks, and that's good physical activity for her and her joints. And she's just out in the community. Then they come in, you know, eat lunch. Usually they've been out all morning. They do
Mm.
their shopping. She has a shopping day. And on her shopping day, she could grocery shop. She could say she has to go to the mall. She has to go to a specific store. She tells them what kind of shopping she wants to do. And that's what she does. And she grocery shops. There's a refrigerator at her classroom location, and she stores like some of her favorite foods there, which is peanut butter, jelly, and bread. She's always going to make sure she has that on hand. She gets hungry, she's going to eat it, you know, and she's like, it's mine. And everybody's respectful of what they shop and bring. They go out in communities and eat at restaurants so they can learn how to be at a restaurant and how to order. And they go to the movies together. They do a lot. You know, this is just her center, her location. And I think this year the teacher told me it's 10 young adults there. And that's a lot for where their location is. You know, it's like a small vicinity where they are. But, you know, she's one of the older people, and she's helping her peers. Now her peers in her class, she's helping them. So it's always important for me to help her socially. How do I help keep her socially active outside of school? Because this will end, you know.
Now, that's what I was going to ask. What is the end? What time does her day end? And then how long can she stay at the center?
She could stay till 26. That's not my goal. My goal is to, and I don't want to say my goal, but collectively, because of a lot of the abilities she has, her teacher, her community. We work with the community resources. They come to her IEP meetings, and myself and Jael, we know collectively, we ask her what are her hopes and dreams. What does she want to do? She wants to work. She wants a job. So we working to help her find employment in a place that she feels safe and comfortable. And then she can move to another phase of what what is offered in our district, which is like, then she'll work one-on-one, like a person that's just working with her and checking in on her. And so, but to me, that starts to eliminate her socialization. And I think she thrives off going to this classroom, being a leader, being a model. People look to her. And that's the part that we're kind of at right now. Like, that's going to look different for her. And so then there's outside resources in our community that I try to keep her involved with. Like, she likes to bowl. So there's like adaptive bowling at my local bowling alley that she does. Things like that. Special Olympics. She stays involved with, like,
Jael stays busy.
Not busy enough, girl. She be up there in that bed just on her phone all day. So not busy enough, you know, but she helps out around the house. And I just know she would make an awesome caregiver. I always say, if I get sick, I love y'all, I do. But if I get sick, I want Jael. She gonna make sure I take my medicine. She gonna be like, Mom, get up, take your shower, drink this medicine, lay down. You gotta go to, like, she is it. She is it. Like, she is like number 2 in the house. You know, I'm number 1.
But she's oldest. She's the oldest too.
She's
so
the oldest.
Right in line.
Is there a hospital she could volunteer at? She might really like that.
You say, is there what?
Hospital.
She might would. I bought her scrubs when she was at. I bought her scrubs when she was at the adult daycare center. I was like, "Girl, come on, let's play the part now. Like, come on, get in it." You know, because and the scrubs was cute. They were joggers, so I'm like, "This is how can you see yourself doing this?" So that is a good question, Jill.
I think that would be great. That would be great.
I think so too. Like, we started at the adult daycare center because, there's seniors who are coming in for the day. I think that children are smaller and need more communication. And I think seniors, like, they've lived and they can probably see and recognize certain differences. And I think she probably felt more accepted there, and
they're forgotten about. A lot of the seniors are forgotten about, so they thrive for that socialization. And Jael is able to fill that void. I think that would be an awesome thing to do.
I think I saw her confidence this summer. Everything she does, she'd be like, it was okay. It was okay. I'd be like, girl, I don't know if you're going to find your perfect job. But now, to hear her say, like, I really liked it. I liked it. I thought that was a start because, they do a lot of exploration of jobs to see what is it they would want to do? And, I know we all look at our children, we're like, they're more than just pushing a mop and cleaning toilets.
That's right.
So, I mean, if she's going to do something, I want her to do something meaningful, because I need her to feel like she has a purpose.
That's right. And she does. I mean, she does. And I feel like, who are we? One of the things, I was listening to this radio broadcast this week, and they was talking about a lot of times people have people come to this counselor, whether it's for their mate or for their children, and they ask them 3 basic questions. And one of the questions was, do I as a mate or do I as a parent support your goals? That is major. And they were like, do I support your goals? So for me, it's no different with Jael. It's, if she's interested in something, why wouldn't you support that? Why wouldn't you encourage that or do something to uplift her in that area? I'm like, listen, let us know what you're interested in, and let's try to figure out a way to make that thing come to pass.
Yes.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think one thing that Jill brought out before, and I think was very interesting, and this is how I felt with Morgan. I felt like I had to pick between her socialization or her education. And you're right. I never thought about that. I that's kind of strange that we would have to be put in a position where we had to pick between those. I think that is very much how I felt. I also, my son told me last week he didn't even know what mainstream was. Again, when I had Morgan, I was thrust into this.
Yeah.
No one ever sat down and explained any of that. No one ever explained the pros and cons. And this is why I'm so keen on giving people advice, because there was no one to give it to me. Like, listen, put her in the life skills class, but stand firm on getting her into the regular PE class, regular music class, and regular art class, because if not, she's going to decline socially. If she's not speaking, and say there are other people in her life skill class that are not speaking, not doing certain things, she's not going to see other people doing it. And what that to me does is keep her where she is. And in some ways, without people saying it, I think that they almost limit your child and make you and your child believe that this is the best that you're going to do.
Wow.
And I'm going to differ, because when Jeremy was young, Jeremy had war fluid in his ear, and he couldn't really, we couldn't understand some of the things that he would say. We did not start understanding Jeremy until he was 2, because his daycare provider noticed she said something is wrong, go get his speech checked. What it came down to is he had fluid in his ears. They just put the tubes in his ears, but he was around my nephew Devin. Devin was like a little man. Devin started doing everything early, and Devin was speaking early. But because Jeremy was around him, even though Jeremy had that fluid in his ear and we couldn't really understand him, his desire was to speak like Devin. Everything that he did, he tried to mimic Devin. And I say that to say that just like Jeremy wanted to do it, just because Morgan has some cognitive disabilities does not mean that she doesn't look at her neurotypical peers and try to mimic them. So I think if any parent hears this later, or if any parent is listening, I would definitely encourage you, no matter what your child's disability is, make sure that they're at least in those special classes with their neurotypical peers. Because if not, you can regret that a lot later. I will say that.
I like it. Denise said it should be a balance.
I agree.
It should be a balance, and even so even though when I moved to Michigan and Jael was in a gen ed class, she had 30 days in a gen ed class, so they can evaluate her and get her in the best possible classroom environment. And it was a lot for her. It was so much that the teacher said the first couple of days she just hid under the desk, and it was, and she was in first grade. I moved here and she was in first grade. And then she became comfortable to sit at the desk. But by then, we were working on moving and placing her out. So she got placed out of the school. and into a classroom. And so a self-contained classroom. So I was given the opportunity to visit 3 classrooms. They were at 3 different schools. And the principal accompanied me, and we went and visited each classroom. And afterwards, he would say, Miss Francis, how do you feel about that classroom? And I thought, okay, I liked it. It's, I shared what I thought about the classroom. And then he would give his opinion, and I loved it. He would be like, well, I don't think that's the best classroom for her. He was like, we're working on her speech. And I noticed that all the kids in that classroom do not speak. And he said that's going to be a problem because she needs to be in a classroom where someone models the behavior that we're trying to see progress in. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. When you say you don't know, I'm like, I didn't think of it like that. I was like, okay. Then it's like, ding, that makes sense. But I wouldn't have known that. And when he said that, it made me look at the next classroom differently. And then of the 3 classrooms, I knew where she should be placed because I observed like the kids, the teacher, and what was going on. And he was right. For a student that we're working with speech to get to speak and to work on other skills, she needed to be in a classroom that it was exhibited in that classroom. Even in a self-contained classroom, it needed to exhibit some of that. It had to have a good bit of diversity in it. And so she was in a cognitive impairment classroom. Sometimes it's just kids. It kind of reminded me what Jill was saying, like, my kid's not reading on that level. It's just kids who may not be up to level, maybe behind grade level, but they just need a little bit of one-on-one. They can get there. It's just they're not at the pace of their peers. She needed to hear people read, things like that, and talk out loud. She needed to see her student beside her classmate beside her doing it, Now, if everybody was humming and just making sounds, then she would think that's
she
how
was going to mimic that.
Yes.
She was going to mimic it.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I definitely agree with you. It definitely should be a balance, with how and then I think, like I said, again, it should be kind of school-wide, even involve other children, like, who said that? Was that you, Jill, said like the lunch buddies?
I like that.
Yeah. And then what did you say it was?
It's called a lunch bunch.
Bunch.
The school psychologist gets Zachary and Sweetie. Are they neurotypical or are they all from the program?
I don't know.
He doesn't know. It's probably a mix of, disabled kids and neurotypical kids, I'm thinking. And you play games, right?
No.
What do?
We just sit in class and do work.
During your lunch bunch?
Oh, no. Yeah, it's just different types of people.
Yeah.
Normal people, more special people, I'll say that.
Right.
Not being offensive.
That's right.
And what do?
We eat and then we could play Uno. We could
Right.
play Connect. We could talk.
Yeah, see, and he
Do you
enjoys
enjoy it? Does he enjoy? That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he really enjoys it. So
and that's helping him socially. I love it.
Yes. So I'm very thankful. I didn't even know they were doing it until he, came back the other day and said that he got hit in the eye during lunch bunch. So they were playing with something and it wasn't on purpose. But yeah, he got hit in the eye. So I was like, oh, you're doing lunch bunch? So,
but you know what?
Yeah.
That's probably, you said that you don't know what is different this year. A lot of things have changed for him because ultimately, and I think we talked about this last week, Crystal, our kids want to be accepted no matter how much we think they don't care. They want to be accepted.
Yes.
And once they feel that they're accepted, a lot of their behaviors start diminishing because they want to be accepted. Who wants to be ostracized? Who wants to be push it aside as if they're, they're not even, they don't even matter. Who wants to be? We as adults don't want that,
Right. And a
And
lot of
one
these
thing I
kids
want
want attention, and they
exactly.
don't really care if it's negative attention or positive attention.
Well,
And
sometimes they get that behavior, like you say, because they want attention.
yeah, exactly. And now that everyone at the school knows Zach, literally everyone, because we went to
I
teacher
love it.
night and literally everybody knows him. But they give him positive, you know, everything's positive and he just
Great.
enjoys that. And I think that might be part of the change is everyone knows him
I'm happy.
now, and he knows what the expectations are, and they give him a lot of positive reinforcement all the time.
I
um
love it, you. I
because
love it.
negative, I mean,
Who wants
you
to
know,
hear
when all you
negative
hear
things
is the
all the time
negative.
as we? Exactly. Who wants to hear
Yeah,
that
I
all the
mean,
time?
as a parent I was getting tired of negative,
Look,
you
as
know,
I'm
a
so
parent.
I can
yes.
imagine. Well, I'm
So
gonna say this to you guys. I do want you guys. This is gonna be a subject that we talk about the next time because next week me and hubby are going on a date and we're going to the football game. So there will be
oh,
no advocate say, yes, I don't want to miss, but everybody's like, this is your date night. I'm like, why does it have to be on Thursday night? He said, baby, can y'all come up with another night? Because you do know Thursdays is football. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
everything is related to sports, everything with him. But this is one of the things that came across. I'm in this the Charles County, and Jill, you should be in it. I'm in the Charles County autism disabilities community, and I logged on. They tagged me in this, and I logged on and I said, hubby, we gonna do it. Let me share my screen so you guys can see what we are getting ready to do with Morgan. We're going to this tomorrow. She's gonna learn
Oh,
how to dance.
oh,
oh,
But
that's
these are
pretty. I
things,
love it.
this is going to be interesting. These are some of the things that I search for in order for us to get her out into a social
Yeah.
setting. It may be a little bit of a battle, but we're gonna take her headphones. Me and hubby are gonna be there. We're gonna make it fun. And I'm excited about this tomorrow. And she's gonna be out. It's 6:30 to 8:30. So he was like, soon as I saw it this morning, he said, sign us up. I said, this is
oh.
gonna be interesting. So yes, for those in Charles County, you can definitely log on and register. It's from 6:30 to 9:30. I mean 8:30, I'm sorry. And it's at it's in Indian Head, Maryland. But even if you're not in Charles County, you still can attend. I think you just have to pay a little bit more. I think it's $15 or 12 to $15 for out of state. But I think it's really great for them. They heard a lot of feedback as far as some of the programs for our kids, and they're definitely trying to get things set up and have different events for our kids to attend. So let's try to support this because ultimately, again, it's for our kids and it's for them to get out into the community and just meet people, and then it gives us an opportunity to network, get to talk to other parents, come up with different things. Sometimes you're dealing with things that you don't really have a clue as to why you're dealing with it or what's going on, and that's where coming together as a community really helps because you get to talk with other parents and understand some of those
Yes.
things. Yeah,
Yes.
so I think
Paula,
that's
who's like
very.
sponsoring it? Who is it sponsored by?
This is the members of the Charles County Autism and Development Disabilities Parent Support Group.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think, listen, I don't know what it all entails, but I think the 2 hours is enough time for her. They're gonna teach her how to dance. Let me tell you something. She just does a bounce, but I'm gonna tell you this: me and hubby gonna get some exercise in it too. And Denise did say I wanted to grab a comment. Denise said, speaking of that, I had someone come up to me at church after church who observed Zion for 5 minutes and wanted to pray the devil out of him. In him, she's in a healing ministry. Okay, that's definitely another subject, Denise. We're going to definitely hit on that. Denise, can you also send us some subjects? We have some subjects that we want to kind of bring to the table with advocacy. So that could definitely be a subject that we talk about. It is getting ready to go on 9 o'clock. I wanted to get some closeout comments for Crystal and Jill, but I also wanted to say we're back on StreamYard. We're enjoying StreamYard. And I mean, I love StreamYard. I mean, this was so much easier as
Yeah.
far as the navigating. So just let us know what you think about our new look. Give us some subjects that you want to have us to discuss on advocacy. And again, I just want Crystal and Jill give us out some closeout comments. And I think we can go on with this subject forever because we never really talked about a lot of the cons, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we definitely, because I have a lot of cons myself to bring up, but I'll let you guys give out closing comments and then we'll close out from there.
Well, it's always great talking to everyone and meeting up. And like you say, this subject, we could go on and on. But until next time.
Bye, guys.
Good night, guys. Y'all have a great week. And again, I won't be here next week, but we'll definitely resume the next Thursday after that.